name's Trevor Fry with Bergman Nurseries. I'll do a short little video here on how to winterize your backflow preventer. We have some cold temperatures coming up the next couple days, actually potentially record-breaking cold temperatures. So most, if not all of you, still have your irrigation systems activated. So we do need to protect your backflow because that is at risk of freezing. So I'm going to walk you through 3 options of how to protect that until we can get there to actually winterize your system. There is something as simple as wrapping with the blanket, which we'll show you, or a heavy towel. We can also run the irrigation system during the coldest hours to keep water flowing through the system. And then finally, we can actually just back drain the entire backflow, and that way you're 100% protected. So I'm going to walk you through all 3 processes. It's Sunday morning here. Got my dog with us, but I feel we need to do this. There's so many of you customers out there that probably don't know how to do this. A lot of you do. That's great. But the backflow is going to be the only thing that's going to be vulnerable, unless you have an outside pump. That also would need to be protected as well. But almost all of you have a backflow preventer, and it's going to be outside. So we've got to get that protected because it's a very expensive part of your system. So let's quickly go over what we need to do to protect that. Okay, we're over here next to our backflow preventer. We have a couple different styles. Yours may not look just like this. That's okay. This is a Wilkins. It's plastic in between. A lot of the ones that are out there are going to be a Febco, which is a solid brass piece. The Wilkins we switched to probably about 8 years ago. The advantage to it, you're going to see here with these temperatures, we have 2 screws that we can take out and remove the whole backflow and protect it. It's a great feature, and we'll go over that here in a minute. First, while I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm looking over at my water spigot to my house, which has absolutely nothing to do with the irrigation system. But if you don't get this hose off here and we have water trapped, we can actually freeze and break inside of our house. I know most people know this, but sitting here looking at it, I want to make sure that we get that taken off. So we got that taken care of. So back to the backflow. So the first thing we can do is wrap it with a blanket. Wrapping it with a blanket will probably work if the temperatures are in the upper 20s. I think that'll give it enough insulation. My concern is right now they're forecasting, I saw 23. So at 23 degrees, I really don't know if a blanket or a heavy towel is going to be enough. So it's not going to hurt to wrap it with the blanket or a towel. I recommend doing that if you're not going to back drain the system. Wrap it the best you can, and then we also probably want to turn the irrigation on, and let's run the system when it's the coldest out. So looks like early morning is probably going to be the coldest temperatures. If we have that water moving through the backflow, that'll help it from freezing. Your backflow preventer has got a lot of small parts in it that'll freeze a lot easier than just a wide open 1-inch pipe. So we want to do whatever we can to protect it. A lot of times there's a ball valve right here, it'll crack, and these are not cheap. So we can cover it with a towel, but I think we're also going to have to run the system as well. The other thing that a lot of you will have if you're in the city is a irrigation meter. Most of yours are going to be outside, and it'll be right after it comes into the ground. I do not have one, I'm on rural water. But your meter will probably look like one of these 2. The city has the new readers on these, and then your regular ones. It'll probably be in the ground somewhere right there. Now I've got a couple dogs here. So it's gonna be in the ground, so it's gonna be somewhat protected. But if we just cover this with a blanket or towel, sitting it on top of where it is in the ground, this will probably be just fine. It's not completely exposed to the air and the elements, so just one more piece. So what I'm going to do next, I think, is I am going to show you how to actually back drain the backflow. Covering with the towel, I think everyone can handle. And then we can also go through on making sure we have a program set to run at the right time too. But so the first thing we're going to do on back drain the backflow, and you're going to be a little bit different because, you know, when we're there, we're pushing the air through the lines, which we'll still come back and do, obviously. But we want to shut this handle off right here. So what this is going to do is going to stop all the water from everything that's in the ground coming back towards you. So we're just going to shut this first, it would be the second handle off. It comes out of the house. This will be the second handle here. Let's just shut that off. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go down to your basement and show you where to shut the water off at. Okay, now we're into the basement of your house. 90% of you are going to have the basement, and this is where it's going to be at. We got the main water coming in the house. It comes up. This is the main shut off to the whole house. We want to leave that on. You need the rest of the water in your house. So you kind of follow the piping. It's not always going to look exactly like this, but it'll be similar. You're going to see we have another shut off. We follow this pipe. Now I have an irrigation pump, so mine comes down at the pump, comes back up, and then goes out to the backflow preventer. So this is what we want to shut off. So we just take and turn the handle off. Some of you will have, instead of a ball valve, it'll be a gate valve, which will be more of a knob that you turn. So either which way, it doesn't matter if it's a knob, just turn the knob to shut the water off. So now the water is shut off to the irrigation system. Now notice, since I do have an irrigation pump, we've got to make sure that the controller is turned off so the system does not try to run when we don't have water to it. We'll burn the pump up that way. So if you have an irrigation pump, it is imperative to turn the controller off or to unplug the pump. Some of you, it's just as simple as following the wire and unplugging it from an outlet. Mine actually is wired in, and I turn it off at the breaker box. So I open the breaker up, turn the breaker to the pump off. Most of you do not have an irrigation pump. You will not have to worry about that part. But if you do, it's an important step. You don't want to miss it. Okay, water is shut off. The next thing we have is we got to back drain it. So we've got to get that water out of the backflow. So get a small bucket, pan, anything. We want to come up, just open this up. Okay, so you notice I don't get much water to come out. That's because we need to go up to the backflow preventer and we have to open up the ports so we can let air into it to push that water back down. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that part because this is where a lot of people miss this step. They're going to think, oh, there's no water in it. There is still water in it, but it's airlocked. So go ahead, turn it back off. Now we're going to go back upstairs. We're going to go back out to the backflow, and I'll show you which ports to open up. We're back to your backflow preventer outside. You're going to need, if you have the Wilkins type, you're going to need a Phillips screwdriver and a flathead screwdriver, smaller flathead. If you have just the Febco, and I will, after this I'm going to try to go find a Febco backflow so I can show you the Febco as well. So right now we're going to work on just the Wilkins. So take your flat screwdriver, and we got 3 ports. Zoom on in here, April. We have 3 ports right here, and we have 1 right here. All right. So it goes in. We'll do this one first. It's a little bit easier. So we go in, and it's a 1/4 turn. These are just little caps. Yours might be on it. Yours might be gone. Not a big deal if you don't have the cap. We're just going to turn it a 1/4 turn. So it's parallel. That will be parallel with the pipe. So we're going to do that on all of them. Let me come up, get this one. Again, it's just a 1/4 turn. So now we have let air into the line. So technically on the Wilkins, since this is what we're going to do, we can simply just take this backflow out. So we have these 2 Phillips screws. We're just going to unscrew this, and it's not going to take much. So what this is this is just a wedge that is holding this piece in. So we unscrew it, we can kind of go underneath of it, we just pop that out, take that piece out, and then we kind of slide this back towards it, and then just pull the backflow out. So now that we have the backflow out, we're open this way. So what we can do is we still have some water trapped going down this way. So now if we want, if we need to do this, let's open this handle back up. It's gonna have water in it because your line's still pressurized. And you might have a dog that wants to come up and drink it. Or 2 dogs. So we're just allowing this to get out of here. When we blow this out, we'll have our air compressor hooked to this, and it's blowing all the water the other way. But obviously, you know, you don't have the air compressor, so we're just letting the pressure off the main line by doing it this way, and trying not to get soaked and not open it farther. But we'll go ahead and open it a little bit farther. Okay. So now we'll let that go. Okay, so it stopped. So instead of turning this all the way off, we're not going to go 100% off. We're going to leave that open just barely. We just barely want that open, okay? So we're going to take this with us back down to the basement, and we're going to keep it inside. So let's go back downstairs again. Okay, so we're back down in the basement. We've got our backflow preventer. We recommend storing these right next to the water shutoff so we know where it is in the spring. So we're just going to set this down here on the floor right next to my pump. If not, it would be just directly underneath your backflow or underneath your water shutoff. So now we need to come back up and we need to back drain this. So it all depends on your system, how much water you're going to have in it. See how all of a sudden now we have water coming out of that. This is the step that most homeowners miss. Like I said before, if you open this up and don't let that air into that port, you will not get this water out, and it'll still freeze. So some of you, if the piping is a lot longer to go out to the backflow, you're gonna have a lot more water than what I just had. This is pretty typical right here. Don't need a huge bucket, but let that drain out. It doesn't have to be 100% out because the rest of this water that's here is in your house and it's heated. We're just getting rid of the part that's outside. So that is plenty good right there. Go ahead and shut it back off. And that's really it. So that will take care of a Wilkins backflow. You're protected. So the only thing you would have is still your irrigation meter. If it's in the ground, pile some stuff, blankets over top of that. Just don't let that freeze. Make sure your controller is off, especially if you have a pump. It's very important. If you don't have a pump, it really won't hurt if the clock is on, but just turn the controller to off. It just makes it simpler. So that really is all you have to do for a Wilkins backflow. We're gonna go try to find a Febco backflow and walk through the process of that next. So real quick, we are back outside at the backflow preventer, or where the backflow was. We still got the wedge and the screws. So just want to make sure we don't lose that. Go ahead and get that pushed back in. Helps if you put it in the right way. Put the screws back into that. And just tighten them up just a little bit. That way it'll be there for next year. And also we need that piece in there because we have an orange piece that the air hooks to. So we need this in here to hook our piece up to blow it out. So keep it right there, put it back where it was, would be great. And then the last thing, again, we still have this wide open. We want to do the same thing here. We want to leave that just a quarter of the way open, okay? Not all the way shut off. Both handles will look like this. Then you're complete. Again, don't forget about your irrigation meter. It'll be somewhere in the ground, about right in there. Make sure that gets covered up. That's the only other thing that could be at risk with these temperatures. Okay, we're here at a customer's house. They have a different type of backflow. So this is a Watts backflow. So just to show you, there's multiple different types, but for the most part, they're all the same. So this will not have the black piece that'll actually come out. So all we're gonna do is open the 4 ports just to make sure that we get the water out of it. We've already went down in the basement, water is shut off inside. So come on over. This one's not the easiest to see, and this shows you sometimes they can be kind of hidden, so you don't see it. So we got 4 ports. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 ports. We got the ball valves. So again, there's really nothing we can do to force the water out of this one. It's still going to somewhat be in this part, but we'll get it out of the backflow at least. So we're going to take and open these ports. Now, there's no way to get water off of this, so there's going to be some pressure on it. So if you open this, water might shoot out at you, so don't put your face right over top of it, because we got to let that water out of the line that's all in the ground. And since all 4 of these ports are shooting straight up in the air, you just watch yourself that you don't get a face full of water. So, and again, we're taking just a quarter turn. So get your screwdriver in there, and it's a quarter turn, all 4 of them. So water will not be coming out of these on this side of the backflow, because the backflow is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's stopping the water from entering back into your water source. So the only port that's gonna have water shooting out of it is gonna be the one with the back pressure from what's in the ground. So that's why you see water shooting out of this one and not out of these 3. Okay, so we'll let this keep spewing some water out. Whoa. So now we'll go back down to the basement and we will back drain. By the time we get down there, this will be slowing down. And again, this is not going to get back into this side anyhow. So we'll go down to the basement and we're going to back drain the water back out, letting the water out of this part into the house. Okay, we're in the basement of the homeowner's house. The water is already shut off. And again, this will show you sometimes it's not the easiest to get to. So we've got the main water over here. This is already shut off. We've got the back drain right here. So I've got the bucket underneath of it. Go ahead and open that up. Let that water out. Again, if we would not have opened those ports, we would not be getting this water out because it'd be airlocked. So this one is a little bit farther run, so we got a little bit more water into it than what I had in mind. So we got a 5-gallon bucket here with us. Take and empty that out. And we need to do it again. So that's the second bucket. And I think we'll about have it here. Don't know how well you guys can see that, but so we're slowing down there. Like I said in the other video, you don't have to get every bit of water out because what's left is here inside. It's already drained from what's outside, so not a big deal. Empty that out. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll go back outside and we'll turn that backflow handle at a quarter turn, and we'll be good. All right, we're back at the backflow. So all we gotta do, it's back drained inside. Just take this handle right here, quarter turn, this handle, quarter turn, and we're good. So this one's taken care of. It's back drained. It'll be fine now. Won't have any issues. So still gonna try to go find a Febco backflow and show you one more. Okay, so we finally found a Febco backflow. Like the last one we just had, it's covered up. So you might have to look if you don't know where your backflow is. You might have to do a little bit of looking. So the water on this house comes in the front, but the backflow's out the side, not real far away from it. But again, it's not in the front of the house. It's not where the water comes in. So anyhow, so we have a Febco backflow. Same idea. We have 4 ports. There's 1 before the backflow here, 2, 3, 4 ports, and we got the same. We got 2 ball valves. So we're going to go ahead and we have the water coming in from this side, and it goes out this side. So here's the first one right here. So we can turn, the water's already off inside. So we can just turn those a little bit. You don't have to. We're gonna move out of the way, open up that port right there. This system doesn't have a lot of water in it, or we're at the high point, so there's not gonna be a lot draining out. So that one doesn't have a lot of water spraying out at you. That was nice. Let's open up the other two. Remember, it's a quarter turn. That's all you need. Letting a little water out of that one right there. Quarter turn. See the water discharging out of the backflow because the pressure in the backflow just changed. It helped discharge all that water out of the backflow right there, which is what you want to see. So we're opened up here. Let's go ahead and turn those back to the quarter turn. One thing I do want to point out to you here, and April will probably have to back up a little bit, but this is one of the meters I was talking about. It's directly after the backflow. This is the meter that we will take off in the winter. It will be stored at your house, but we'll take it off. But do cover this up. You can take it off if you want. It's a union, 2 unions on both sides, but you don't want any debris or rock to get in it. When we do it, we'll put a plastic plug in it, a threaded plug. That way we don't get anything in the lines. I prefer if you just keep these on, but you need to cover it up because these meters do have, they do have fluids inside of it, liquid in it, so they can freeze. So cover this thing up if you can. Everything else in the backflow is now protected. We will go back inside and I'll show you the inside of this one too. So it's just like the other ones, but it's a little bit different setup. We're in a closet, so we'll go back inside now. Okay, we're down here in the basement. Here's their main house meter, not to be confused with the outside meters. It's the water comes in down below it, comes out, and then comes up to the irrigation system. So this is where we already had it turned off at. Here's our back drain for it. So we'll get the bucket up to here and open up the jerk ball valve. I don't know if you can hear that in there, but you can hear the air in the pipe and hear it gurgling coming down. So we'll let that drain and this one will be taken care of. So we're over here at the irrigation controller. Most of you, it's going to be in your garage. I would think all of you would know where this is at your house. So this is a Hunter. A lot of you have a Hunter Pro C that looks just like mine. So if you do not want to back drain your backflow and we need to just run some time on the clock in the early morning hours, a couple things just to make sure of. Hopefully most of you know how to do that, but on the Pro C, I'll just go through it real quick. So we want to make sure we take the dial, come over here to set station run times, make sure we have time on the stations. You should already have that as a program already. So the biggest thing is set program start times. So every clock is a little bit different. So my start time is to come on at 8 o'clock in the morning. I have a second one because I was trying to get some grass to grow at 1 in the afternoon. And I got another one at 6. So I've got a lot of start times because I'm trying to get some seeded areas to grow in my yard. Obviously, we don't need 3 different start times or 4 start times. We can do it with 1 or 2, depending on how long these cold temperatures last. But we want to just take our start time, probably start a little bit earlier than 8. I would say let's just start it around 6 in the morning. You can look at the hourly forecast and see when we start dropping below 30. I know 32 is freezing, but it's not going to freeze right away. So if we can run water sometime, when it's starting to drop below 30, that would be fine. The other thing you want to make sure of is that your days to water, that it's actually scheduled to water on the days, we're looking at Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday. We want to make sure that you're on those days so it will actually run. The other thing would make sure your rain sensor, I don't think we have any rain in the forecast, so it shouldn't be an issue. If you want to just make sure of it, you can move the controller to bypass and completely not have to worry about it. So again, make sure that you have your, I don't know if you can see that in the camera or not, but you want the little raindrop on there. If it's got that marked through it, that means it's not going to water. So you want the raindrop, you don't want the circle with the cross through it. Again, there's lots of different types of controllers. They're not all going to look just like this, but you should know how, most of you, to operate this. The other thing, if you look at mine, I have a few other things going on in my system, and some of you have this. The other thing to watch for is if you have a soil click in the ground, a soil moisture sensor. If the moisture right now, like mine, it's too high, so it will not let the system run. Make sure you hit the pause button to override that so it will still run. That's a key thing. You might have everything set up correctly on here, but that moisture sensor is going to stop it, so make sure you pause that. Most of you don't have that feature, but a few of you do, so just something to keep in mind. So just make sure that your controller is set to run. This is only if you're not going to back drain your backflow. If you don't feel comfortable and you can't back drain it for whatever reason, this will be the next best thing. Cover it with a blanket and a towel and try to run the clock for periods of time while we're at the coldest temperatures. The backflow is not going to freeze if we have water moving through it. So just one more thing to keep in mind. So just to conclude everything, I've shown you the 3 different options. Unfortunately, if the temperatures are as cool as they're predicting, just wrapping with the blanket might not be enough, especially if your backflow is on the north or east side of your house. So you don't get the sunlight to warm it up during the day. It might stay cool and it's going to freeze quicker. So a blanket will help. I don't know if it's going to be enough if the temperatures stay true. So running the system and a blanket is probably it's your best bet if you do not back drain the backflow. I highly recommend, if you can, just back drain the backflow. You don't have to worry about it then. And if you got questions, I understand it's not something you do every day. Give us a call. We'll do the best we can. Unfortunately, this is happening earlier in the season than it ever has. I think the record low temperature is back in the 40s or something. So we're very unseasonably cool for a couple days here. We've got 400 some customers. I can't get to everybody. We do have 4 compressors out running trying to blow things out. But ultimately, the backflow is the homeowner's responsibility. We're going to do everything we can to help you so you don't have issues, but it is your responsibility to take care of the backflow until we get there to actually winterize the system. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to give us a call at the nursery. You can shoot us an email. We'll do our best to get back to you. We're also going to start making phone calls, and just as a reminder to everybody, obviously I don't want to have 400 frozen and broke backflows. So it's in everyone's best interest just to do what you can to protect them. So again, give us a call, 217-222-1424, or shoot me an email. It's trevor@bergmannurseries.com. Or a lot of you deal with Keith. You can deal with Keith at keith@bergmannurseries.com. And then the lady behind the camera, my wife, she loves being on video. You've all talked to her on the phone. April, you can give April an email as well, or a phone call, april@bergmannurseries.com. So thank you for watching this. Hopefully this didn't confuse you more. Hopefully you got a little bit out of it. Again, if you got questions, please give us a